All right, Barbarian Horde, tonight you're going to get a 2-for-1 Sunday night special sizzling into your mind's eye. Before I end up going, oh, damn, I'm more than a fucking head there. Before I end up getting going to bed for work in the morning, you understand, I was invigorated and rejoicing inside myself to put together one more video. And just going to go through how I did this Dungeons & Dragons simplified for, we have a brand new player, a fairly new player, a player who hasn't played in well over a decade. A 13-year-old, though I think my son would have actually been fine getting more complicated rules. But he's playing a wizard priest multi-class, so that's the hardest thing you can play in terms of having to go through all kinds of spells and these sort of things. So I'm going to kind of tell you about some of the rules we put down to make things easier. Even some of these things might seem just a tad complicated. And you can kind of strip it away. Now, in 3.5, they did some great things in making things simple and easy and also complicated as fuck. And it takes fucking forever to make a character with this game system. Because why? There's a whole bunch of books on the other side around me and down here. A lot of books that have something called feats. And feats are a fucking problem. Because I have seen players spend hour upon hour upon hour upon hour upon hour digging through to find feats for the character. The perfect feat, the best feat, the strongest feat, the feat in an AEG book that is broken, and another one that's broken. And if you combine 3 or 4 broken feats, you move for the feat, you move for the feat, you move for the feat, you can have something that's really not very good. It's just stupid as hell. And you don't want that, right? And you don't want a more experienced player to be able to kind of quickly unbalance themselves. God help you brought 30 new players in this game with me. If I wanted to, I could probably beat all of them just by stacking myself out with, feats, right? And correlating that to other choices, even down to the choice of race, which is a fucking horrible thing to do. Pick your race because you fucking want to play. That should be a big, major, impactful, important decision on what you're doing. I'm trying to get that light behind my head there. I know you ain't trying to see that, but now I have a nimbus, if you will. So in this book, a lot of things right, a lot of things wrong. The way they do saving throws, the way they do base attack bonus, and kind of just the general way they handle multi-classing, as well as saving throws. I like in this book. So we used all that, all right? We used the bonus spell rule, which is, I'm going to show you. It's dark as fucking here. I'll try to figure out what we're going to do about the lighting. I just kind of threw this together last second. I wasn't even thinking about it. I use this table for bonus spells, for rangers, which just become relevant as a ranger can cast spells. For obviously we have 2 clerics / 1 wizard. There's a cleric wizard, and then there's a cleric. So they have spells like that. Now, what I've also told you, I use this book right here. So that is an interesting thing because I'm not using the classes out of here. I'm not using non-weapon proficiencies. I'm not using weapon proficiencies over here. So, like, if you have a class, if it gives you weapons, we just give you those weapons. You can use the weapons like class, whatever. I don't care. No feats. There are no feats at all. You do get your class abilities. The ranger just got his animal companion. The wizard has a familiar. The cleric can turn. One of them turns to water-based creatures, and one of them actually rebukes commands undead because he's evil. He's a follower of Miracle. The coolest god in Forgotten Realms. So, I took feats away, and I took skills away. There are no skills. No one has skills. And you go, well, fuck, how do you do that? Well, one of the big problems I often see in Dungeons & Dragons is people make what are called murder hobos. And what that is a person that cannot function inside of the real world because they take skills that are going to help them be dungeoneers, to do these sort of things, and not actually function. When your character's running around without crafts or professions, in this book, chances are your character fucking sucks. Make a person who is a real person? How can we have any degree of verisimilitude when we can't even begin to justify? I had a player one time do one of the stupidest fucking things I ever had. His backstory: he was playing a halfling, and this is years ago. He refused to fucking. He was a thief, and he refused to take farming. Like, your character grew. You just told me. You just told me your character grew up on a farm. Uh huh. Yeah, my parents are farmers. How the fuck do you know nothing of? Oh, I didn't care about it. Motherfucker, you grew up on a farm. You think you got a choice? You go, no, hell no. You are going to do what your family does. You're going to learn that. You're going to be out there doing chores. You're going to learn about fucking collard greens and strawberries. You're going to learn these sort of things. Growing up on a farm each and every day, you're going to learn about slopping them hogs, baby. You've got to learn these things. So that didn't make any sense. And I argued with the player, and finally breaking down, conceded to take one fucking skill point in farming. So you kind of avoid all that, right? Avoid the idea of having your character with intricately knowing your feat tree and having no idea what your character's favorite color is. You know what your character's favorite color is? Now, your character sucks. You need to know these things. That's important to know, even if you don't articulate that. What kind of food does your character like to eat? What do they like to drink? What are their goals or motivations? Not just to get magic powers or anything like that. No, get in there and really flesh it out. Flesh out the psychology. Flesh out the person, the character. What was his family? What did they do? What did he do? What is his legacy? What is he? Make him breathe. Make him as real as you can. That's how you chase the dragon in Dungeons and Dragons, baby. You get it as real as you can in any role playing game. It's an illusion. All you're having is a conversation with people. But in between that conversation, in between those words, something else is happening. And what you're doing is you're creating something ephemeral, illusory, and when you can make that phantasm all the stronger by having believable characters that are as close to three dimensions as they can be, you've made something. Wasting time on a bunch of nonsense that's just essentially there to unbalance things is of no use or value. And if your characters want to be able to do something special, they actually want to be able to do this. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So the way I started with the players is I gave them a certain number. Actually, I told them, I said, you guys can decide. You're going to have a number of skill points, or you can have, we can roll stats. I don't like rolling stats, but if it's what you guys want to do, so I listen to the players. I let them make certain decisions to give them some agency in the game. After talking it over, they decide they want to use point system. So, and I use 7 stats. I use perception as a stat. So again, that skill's gone. We don't need search and spot and any of this because you got perception. And dexterity has always been like a broken stat in D&D. It's very, very, very. It does way too much. So I took initiative and I based initiative off perception to give perception something else of value. All of a sudden, perception gets real valuable, and it's very easy, right? All you gotta do is be able to look at it and go, oh, I can see where you're coming from. That's the whole trick to game design. That's a trick to game design. It's not really how it is because none of it is. It's merely an approximation to give you a way because we don't have stats like that, right? We would have really, if you were a character, you would have like thousands of stats, right? And they would all encompass extremely minute things, whereas this would be better than that. This would be better than that, right? And this would be worse. So having stats, you want to have a degree of balance to them. So we have perception knowing that. Now, what I do instead of having characters roll out, I said let's just have a conversation about your character. And once we've done that, the character sheet's basically written because you should know how strong your character is, how this or that is, and if we need to kind of come up with something else, we can do that. If I need to change an ability around in a class, we can do that. If we need to give you this ability instead of that ability, or just give you something a little bit extra, we can do all that. All that's certainly doable. And so we use something out of this book and out of the first edition book, which I don't have handy, called Secondary Skills. For a long time, I thought secondary skills were kind of garbage, and I think with an inexperienced game master, they might be. But the way I run, they have really livened the whole thing up. So we have a guy who's a miner. So when we're down inside the dungeon, like I'm telling him this and that, and like giving him things about him understanding. Just from walking here, you can tell you're actually going on a grade up. You can feel that under you. You know the still air here. You understand what that means. You understand what this type of lichen is and what that is, and you've never seen that before, but you kind of understand it's probably this from what you've heard in stories from other miners or the blacksmith saying some metal work, or looking at the rust on a shield, something like that, or if crops have come up, or if there's a boat with the characters of Viking. We're kind of going over that, or being able to tie knots because he worked, he was on boats, those sort of things, right? You just sit there, and it's not even just so much a secondary skill, but it's that sort of idea, that concept. So it's just, what's your schema, what's your concept? Let's put some bones on it. What does your character know how to do? And then once we've kind of outlined what your character knows how to do, it's very easy for me to decide what your bonuses are in any given role, instead of you having an exhaustive list of stats and so forth. And if you have become better, if you've been doing more of this, right, well, you're going to get a higher bonus. Because I know what you've done, so you're going to get a higher bonus to it. So it allows of an ease for the character to not have to function, a player have to function so much on statistics as it does to allow the player to function on the character, really getting that mind space. And with the newer player, I think that's really can be very, 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 very helpful. I try to get them just to function on basic things, like understanding how to do your saving throws and basic and your attack bonuses and that sort of thing, without throwing in a huge exhaustive list of skills they have to look at and page after page of feats they have to go through. And that can sort of be fatiguing. And while it can allow someone the joy of kind of breaking things, it doesn't really give you much of another joy, because it in itself cannot customize better than a game master can. Oh, you want to do that? Okay. Well, here, let's do it like this. Okay, let's do it like that. Okay. You want that? Okay. Sure. I like to tell players yes, but I like to get something out of it, And I think that's really important, to get the players to a position where we need that. So I got to take that idea out of here, but I also take some other things out of here. For casters, and we have now 3, one just barely, and this is a little bit more complicated, but not so much, and it really only affects the caster. So I use the intelligence skill here, the intelligence stat, where it has chance to learn spells and number of spells you can have, and I use intelligence, and I use that for clerics too. It's crazy. I always thought it made no fucking sense that there was no intelligence incentive for clerics. That's made no sense for me. Like, if you're a priest, you ought to maybe not be a blithering moron. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've met priests in my life, in all fairness, and we're blithering morons, but a lot of them are very intelligent people. I mean, that's worth from an atheist. So, for whatever that's worth, the ability to understand academia, to function in that sort of environment, isn't something that should simply be for wizards. So it incentivizes them to learn, and you don't just get free spells. Now something might happen, crazy like a montage in the mind, some kind of strange dream, something like that. But I like to have ancient carvings on crumbling tombs that you're going into, ancient temples. You're like, holy shit, this is a spell. And when you, instead of these cool runes, and all of a sudden the runes are a sleep spell, or the runes are hypnotic patterns, or the runes are cure moderate wounds, right? And you take that, and you can start kind of telling a story inside that to tell them, okay, well, there's telling this story, and that's what it is. Now, it has a spell inside of it, but it also allows the players to teach each other things. So, and capturing Bibles, right? You capture the scriptures of a Syricist, you can start learning those spells. But you got to read a whole lot about Cyric, and there might just be some pitfalls and some traps in there too. So the player's like, these spells, but oh no, I want to learn the spells of Cyric. So this is a cool thing. My son's character who hates Cyric, he was like, he took the books, like threw one into fire. He was able to destroy one of them. He threw it in the fire. They were able to get one of them out, but he was able to burn one of the books. into fire, and was very adamant about them not learning spells from Cyric. So it helped to kind of pivot a commonality because Cyric is really very difficult in any way to have it represented as anything good or to be something that the players should be involved with or aspire to. And I think every single other one of the evil gods is fine. Talos is a wonderful player character god, much better than most of the lawful gods, honestly. Um, Merkel is perfectly fine. And a number of the other gods, Bane can be a bit tricky, a bit hard. Shar can be a bit hard, maybe Talona to a degree. But Malar and some of these others, there's a lot you can do once you get it, you get heel face dressing room out of the way and you just start thinking about them as characters. There's a lot you can do with some of them, and some of them are certainly perfectly suitable for player characters. Particularly when you just have one along those lines. But Cyric is one that I really think is the old NPC rubber stamp on that one. Like, I don't think so, buddy. I think you're going to start trying to kill everyone when they're asleep. They're strifey. So we don't really care too much for that as a player character to do, but it's great for kind of bringing them together. And if you have a follower, say a Merkel who hates Cyric, that can be a thing that helps even more so push that character onto the same goals. And after all, it's can we work together to achieve these goals. And when that character is more vigorous about wanting to go eliminate the followers of Cyric than the more goodly aligned characters are, then yeah, absolutely, it provides a catalyst for that situation. So had some interesting things there. But rolling to learn spells really makes sense. You make them invest time. I make them invest a half hour for a 0th level spell, an hour for first level spell, and then 1 hour per spell for each level after. So it was a 7th level spell. It takes 7 hours just to go and try to learn it. You have to roll, and you can't try to learn it again until you get another level in that caster class. So for my son, who's a priest wizard, like if he fails to learn it, he might be hit for like 2 levels now before you can try again to try to learn a spell. And if you roll a double aught on the spell, because it's a percentile roll, if you roll a double aught on that spell, you have to write it down, and your character can never learn that spell. It's just there's something about that spell. It's just like a class. You take a class, you're like, dude, I can't get it. Not only can I not get it, I don't want to get it. I'm not into it. I don't like it. Fuck this. I don't want to learn how to do small engine repair. I don't. I don't want to learn how to speak Spanish. I don't want to learn how to fucking do a paint by numbers. No, it's fine. I'll be fine without fucking whole person, hopefully. And you probably won't because that spell's awesome. But it can help paint a better story, right? And that's all these these colors are just to help us paint a better story. So instead of magic just being whatever, it helps limit it. So clerics have an incredible disadvantage. They get all their spells right at first level, right at third level. They get all of them that their god can give them. That's fucking horrible because a player now has to sit down and read 20, 30 fucking spells to operate their character. Now, if you know every spell by heart, well, fucking good for you. But for a lot of players, that is daunting. Instead, when you give them the ability to slowly learn these spells and tell a story with each spell, we can tell a story. Where they got the scripture. And it makes scrolls. Clerical scrolls are a really big deal. Am I going to use and the dwarven priest had a scroll of neutralized poison, and the ranger, and their characters have a little tension, which is great. It's not bad tension; it's good tension. It produces some drama. Half elf dwarf. The dwarf was like, fuck. And he wants to keep it. He wants the time. He was nowhere near the level to learn neutralized poison, but one day, a neutralized poison is one of the most powerful spells in the game. That spell is insanely powerful. And I definitely made him know he wasn't going to be easy to find another one. Wasn't going to make that one an easy one for him. But he used the spell. He used it off the scroll. Once you use the scroll, it destroys. And I go in the cinematics and the theatrics of it catching on flame and busting, and then the words unweaving on writing. So I do it different ways for different characters, and I try to add a little flavor to that kind of thing. And he was just the whole time like, oh! And he's really selling. So of course he gets extra experience points for that. So. And you could just see the anguish. And he was just texting me like, God, I hate it. I had to do that. I wanted that spell so much. Neutralized poison. And he had to blow it on that thing. And it was the fucking ranger did something stupid to get himself like, anyway, I don't want to go into all that. But that was really when you have the capacity to slowly drag these things along, and you give on the other side, what I give players, I hate fancy magic. It's stupid as shit. Any spell you can cast it whenever you want, as long as you have spell slots, and you can slot up. Like, say, if you're out of first level spells, you could take a second level spell and cast a first level spell off it. Like, if you're a wizard, you want to cast a magic missile and you have no more first level spells, you can burn a second level or a third level or whatever, and you can do that all the way down. You can't go the other way, but you can do it all the way down and just burn them out. So priest, again, have to use intelligence to learn the spells, and they don't just automatically get them. Priest, however, tend to be extraordinarily powerful in my game because I do a lot with gods. Another thing the priests get in any way jack. They tend to get pretty strong, and here and there, if you're doing a good job role playing your priest and staying to your god, you can end up getting some pretty sweet powers as well as you go along with that. So they tend to be priest, maybe the strongest class in games that I run for those sort of reasons, because you have the ability to get involved into some really fucking sweet scenes that are, they're going to bonus you experience points. They could lend you powers. They could do all these things from a statistical point, but the real power there is you might get in like some of the coolest scenes in the whole game, and that's ultimately the real power you want. You want to be in the cool scenes because the cool scenes are real. You know what I'm saying? The fucking bonus to hit isn't real. The gold coins aren't real. The magic items aren't real. But the cool fucking fun, the memories, those are fucking real. So, get the real shit, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I do it. I did a real simple experience point. Like, it's just based off what you encounter. It's based off, like, selling, role playing, doing cool shit, like popping the room. And then that really starts motivating players, right? So sitting there going, I killed him, I'm barely paying attention. Oh, you ain't paying attention? -3 experience points. Ooh. Yeah. So all of a sudden, oh, you said something out of character? How about -5 experience points? And that might seem like nothing in D&D, but I use a very small scale. Second level was 10 experience points. Third level was 20 experience points. Fourth level, 40 experience points. Um, I think fifth level was 60. I think, yeah, all right. So anyway, you got it. We're slowly adding more and more experience points and making it easy to remember, getting them up to numbers that make sense, despite my complete fucking roll of a one right there myself. So that's pretty much all the rules that I use. I don't use attacks of opportunity. Um, I Yeah, so it's pretty much just a system where we had to talk about your character, where you had a concept, you had a secondary skill, essentially, and we built on that. And we kind of fleshed out what your character could do, so you can do things. You're not a skillless murdering hobo. You're a person who has a substantial package of skills that can come to your disposal, and particularly when you shift that around, right? So people are doing different things, have different sort of backgrounds. You have a lot of different things covered. So you are able to have characters that have a whole bunch of different stuff, and that can really give you a wonderful rules light experience in your game to allow you to have something that is uh, very easy for someone to digest. Uh, and I don't find complicated rule sets to help new players, and I don't find them to help old players. I don't find them to help bad players. I don't find them to help good players. I don't find complicated rule sets to help anyone. What I do find helps everyone is having a very thorough understanding between a game master and a player as to what and who your character is, and what your character is capable of doing, and then building the story from there, and then spotlighting characters differently. So if your character's doing this, well, hold on, no, we don't want to do that. If you're doing that, you do this, you do that, you do this. So, and if you have a gimmick, I protect the gimmick, right? Like, Austin's the only guy that can fight with 2 weapons. I'm not letting someone else. Oh, I can fight. No. Frank's character out there just wrestling people. So we'll do that. We want to keep it. We want to keep it different. You know what I'm saying? Scott's character's freaking out and berserking on people. No one else is going to be berserking. So even to the way the clerics do their spells, that can come out to be very different. So It's worked very, very well. I've been very pleased with what this has produced. So I would say take it, try it. Hold on, see if it works for you. I will tell you this character creation is like that, and it's given me everything that I want for my characters because they haven't had to worry about nonsense. I mean, how long does it take to come up with that? And here's the other thing: when you're kind of coming up with a character, sometimes you have to start like making compromises, right? And particularly if you're not the most the most integrity as a player, like, well, I need these things because these are the power I should have, but maybe I wouldn't really, So it brings you to a situation, oh, excuse me, where you end up with a character that they wanted, and it ends up producing a character that the game master you want. So I found it's working very well, and maybe we'll let you know how the Rules Light Dungeons and Dragons is working in the future if you guys are interested in update videos. As always, I'm your main man,